appreciate y'all coming. This is to celebrate Carl with his 55 years of service. He has no plans to retire, so we can't give him a retirement party. So this was the next closest thing to it. I was just going to say a few things since I've been his partner for 50 years. You'll excuse me, I get really teared up about it. He's a remarkable person. I can remember, and this was 50 years ago, when I came for an interview for orthopedics. And I had been at Georgetown in Washington, not a particularly pleasant program. And I came out and Carl, it was that Monday morning was fracture conference. And so he took me to that. Interesting was that we looked at the x-rays. They had fixed the hip that weekend. And he looked at the x-rays, pre-op and post-op, and he said, "That hip's not broken." And the residents looked at him like, "You gotta be kidding." He said, "I don't think it's broken." Well, if you know Carl, he can always give you an opinion and he sticks by it. So he said it wasn't broken. But he didn't get mad. He didn't throw a fit. He didn't berate the residents. And I thought, this is a pretty good place here. The next was, these are all from back then. When I was a resident, been here just a few weeks, he sat down at breakfast in the cafeteria, and he said, "Are you having a good time?" And I thought, what on earth is a chief asking me if I'm having a good time, if I'm enjoying the residency? And then the third thing was when we went to lunch and talked about joining the clinic. And of course, I knew a lot of the doctors here because I had been moonlighting at Highland. But Carl said, he says, "You know, I think one thing you need to understand," he says, "I'm Jewish." And he said, there have been periods in history where the Jews have been turned on. And he said, "Your being associated with me could affect you and your family." And I thought, what an incredibly thoughtful thing to say. So anyway, obviously, it didn't bother me. I think we probably should enter the Guinness World Record for 50 years as a partnership. Probably longer than a lot of marriages last. Both of us have been very fortunate with our families, good children, wonderful wives, and partners. So what more could you ask for? All right.
So to put everything in perspective, in 1974, isn't that right? I think that's right.
73 I came out, 74 I started residency.
So in 1974, we had lost the head of our orthopedic department at LSU. And a guy from the academy comes over to see me and says, "Will you be acting head for 6 months?" I said, "Yes." So 5 years later, I'm practicing medicine here and acting head. But anyway, Gordon, where'd Gordon go? So Gordon is my first resident that I choose for the residency program, 74, I think.
Right, that's right.
So 4 years later, 78, 88.
Right.
I think I'm wrong.
No, that's right. 4 years later, 78. You mean that was when I went in practice?
No, I got it right. Okay, so I went and practiced in 1968.
Right.
So Gordon, after finishes his residency, I offer him to be one of my partners. I'd always dreamed of having the best orthopedic group in Northwest Louisiana. I practiced from 1968 to 1978, essentially by myself. I had a partner for a very short period who left and made me very mad, and I didn't try to get anybody for a while. But when Gordon joined me in 78, we were on our way because I had the quality partner I wanted. So 78 to 88, we fluctuated between maybe 4, maybe 5 people, most of who came and went. In 88, Bill Overdyke was with us and comes to talk to me because he wants to become a fellowship-trained joint surgeon. And he says, "What do you think of that?" I said, "Bill, if I was your age, I'd go in a minute." So he goes out to California. Toward the end of his stay, he says, "You need to come out here. There's a guy doing microscopic spine surgery. I think you'd love it." So I do go, and at age 50, I'll leave the practice and go do a spine fellowship in California. My first 20 years of practice was sports medicine and general orthopedics. So I come back in 88, and Craig and Eddie, I think y'all are taking call with everybody. And I thought about it, and if I could add Craig and Eddie to our practice, we'd really be on the right track. So I decided to have them over for dinner, and I still remember in the living room, Eddie's sitting here, his wife's sitting there, and Craig and Alice are sitting over here. And Eddie and Carolyn are peppering me with questions. Why would I leave my private practice and come there? And I thought and thought and thought. And I said, if y'all come, I think we can become the best group in town. So they leave, and I tell Sylvia, they're not coming. So the next morning, Craig calls me and says, "I know it sounded like we weren't interested, but we're very interested." And they subsequently joined in 93. Is that right? Yeah. So since that time, we next added Tim Talbert, who was in private practice in Minden by himself. And I didn't recruit Tim, but somebody, I think they all did. So Tim left Minden and joined us. Then Carlton Houts, who's from Homer, Louisiana, married a local girl, comes up and is interested in maybe joining us. And my memory of Carlton is he wrote every one of us a handwritten letter telling us how much he enjoyed visiting and meeting us and hoped he could come join us. And he did. Next comes Trey Byram. I don't know if I have this straight, but you were going in practice with Shane Barton at Willis Knighton. And we found out that Shane is leaving and going to be head at the medical school. And so we approached you and said, "Why don't you join us?" And he did. So after Trey, we've added 3 more doctors, all of who came out of the residency program out at LSU. Our first one was David Birkin, who's a foot and ankle surgeon. Gordon was teaching out there. That was your interest. And I think you had something to do with bringing David here. So next came, we had lost our spine surgeon, and Stephen Hogue was recruited and joined us. And now our last new partner is Ben Feibel, who's trained in total joints. So my dream of having Neil Cooper, excuse me, the best orthopedic group in North Louisiana has been completed. I think we have one. Neil's in another group, and they have a great group too.
I'm on the podium.
So I think Debbie Smith, our CEO of the clinic, and Gordon, who's also president of the clinic, I think they're behind this. What makes me happy is this was thought of and financed by the orthopedic partners. That makes it special. You know, this usually happens when you retire or when you've been dead a little while and they want to honor you. Well, I'm not going to retire. And every time I see Dean Griffin, I say, Dean, how are you? Still above ground. So that's me too, still above ground. So you know, I still get a thrill when I come up that elevator, I walk through that entrance to go back into my office. 55 years. The bigger thrill now is when I come in, I'm gonna see that black. That's special for me. I don't know how much longer I'll practice. I hope I can stay here until I drop dead in one of those exam rooms. And I hope I'm not one of you, I hope you're not my patient. So thanks for everything.
Children.
Yeah, I forgot to. Number one, thanks everybody for coming, but especially my daughter Lisa came from California. My son Gary came in from California. Jeffrey and his wife Julie live here. And of course Sylvia right here. So thanks everybody for coming and have a good time. I'm gonna turn it off to go in.
So gosh, I don't know what I was thinking talking after him. I don't know if I can live up to that. But what a wonderful, wonderful,
Put it up to your mouth.
what a wonderful, wonderful man. And just a wonderful, you're everything to everybody. And I watched and we're gonna watch it in a minute, but I watched your Meet the Doctor. And you talked about your medical journey. And when you started your internship, it was the year I was born. And let me also say that you don't look a minute over 29. You look exactly the same today as you did when I started here 28 years ago. But I just loved your love for what you do. And I think about not just that was the year I was born, but all the generations and all the people that you have touched in this community and far beyond. And you know, and then I got to thinking about, you took care of my husband. I married one of your patients. And so I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done, and it shows the love in your face. It shows today just as much as it did all those years ago.
Thank you.
I just love that. And so we've also printed, there's some sheets printed around here that have the the YouTube QR code. If you don't get a chance to watch it or you want to watch it later, please grab one of those sheets of paper because his story is incredible. It's so heartfelt. It made me cry just watching it and seeing everything that you've done and all the accomplishments that you've made and all the people that are here because of you. Thank you so much.